This conference will now be recorded.
Excellent. So hello everyone and welcome to the Imagine Your Story Museum of the Rockies Summer Reading Kit webinar. My name is Amelia and I am the lifelong learning librarian at the Montana State Library, and I will be facilitating our session today. A few things before we get started. The session is being recorded, as the robot lady announced, and will be posted to our Vimeo channel afterwards. So you're welcome to reference it there if you like. There's also a chat box in the corner that you can use. We'll be dropping some links into the chat box during the webinar, as well as monitoring it for questions. So please feel free to make use of it if you need to.
At some point, we'll give you both of our emails. So if afterwards you're like, oh, I forgot to ask them this, feel free to shoot us the email, and I'm sure we'd both be happy to answer.
Yes, please
send
do.
you in the right direction if we can.
Yes. So yeah, that was just Jamie, Jamie Oxt, who is our speaker today. She's with us from the Museum of the Rockies. She's the Outreach Program Manager, and she's been working with us on the summer reading kits since 2018. Is that correct, Jamie? From before, maybe?
Last year was our first year, I think.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure if that was my first year, but I wasn't sure if it was your first year.
We've been working on summer reading kits since 2013. We kind of hijacked.
Oh, okay.
Yep. But we can talk more about that when we hit that slide.
Yeah, but it's been wonderful to work with Jamie, and we're super glad to have her with us on this webinar. So for today's agenda, here's what we will be covering. First, we'll talk about how the State Library and the Museum of the Rockies joined forces to create the summer reading kits to give you some history and background to this program. Then we'll talk about CSLP, the Collaborative Summer Library Program that Montana and all of its public libraries are members of. Then we'll move into the actual summer reading kit and briefly discuss each of the activities that we have included this year. We'll talk about how to apply for a kit, as well as additional resources that you can use for your 2020 summer reading program. And again, at any point in time, please do feel free to stop us for questions. You are welcome to unmute yourself if you would like, but feel free to use the chat box. So first, Jamie will talk about the Museum of the Rockies and how our partnership started.
Hello, everyone. We are here in the lovely Bozeman, Montana. We are part of Montana State University. We are a Smithsonian affiliate accredited by the American Association of Museums. My job outside of outreach to libraries and kits that go is primarily working with teachers throughout the state to get their classrooms here, primarily in April and May. So I'm a little bit buried right now with request forms for field trips this spring. We bring in about 15,000 students over the course of the year. I would say 9 of them come during April and May. So part of why we want to get this done for you early, and it's essential for me too. Our permanent exhibits are Dinosaurs Under the Big Sky, Montana History, the seasonal living history farm, Enduring Peoples, and the Taylor Planetarium. And right now our changing exhibit is Reptiles, the Beautiful and Deadly. So we have all sorts of neat reptiles crawling around in their little habitats up there. Like I started to say earlier, we were contacted by the Stillwater Library in 2012. Is anyone from Stillwater out there today? All right. Hi, Jennifer. That year it was Dig Into Reading, and so we were contacted to help with that curriculum. Ever since then, we've kind of taken the theme and run with it to represent exhibits that we have here at the museum. We probably hit our maximum. We range between 30 and 55 libraries. Last year is probably our maximum hit. Like it says, that 55 kits handed out, which was awesome. And we probably couldn't have done that had we not partnered with Montana State Library.
Yeah. Dream team.
Woo! So we'll continue to hijack that for as long as we can. to bring the museum to you. And yeah.
Awesome. So next we'll talk a little bit about CSLP, the Collaborative Summer Library Program, and they are the ones who provide the theme each year for summer reading. So a little history about CSLP. They started back in 1987 in Minnesota, actually, when 10 libraries decided to come together and work together to create a summer library program. They chose a theme, they created artwork, made prizes, yada, yada. And then pretty soon, a lot of other libraries wanted to join in. And then it kind of snowballed into CSLP as we know it to get today. And I went to my first CSLP meeting back in September, and it was really cool to meet everybody from all 50 states and the American territories. So CSLP has really, really grown, and it's really cool. Montana's been a member since 2000, and the membership is coordinated through the state library, but it's actually paid for through the Montana Library Association. So thank you, MLA, for your continued sponsorship. But as a member state, all public libraries in Montana have access to CSLP materials. So that includes the manuals, of course, with the activity and programming ideas. It includes the artwork, which all of the images that you see on the PowerPoint today are pieces of art from the 2020 summer reading theme. And you also have the opportunity to serve on any CSLP board or committee. So if you're interested in that opportunity, I do encourage you to do it. Any member library is welcome to serve, and it's a great way to connect with your counterparts across the country. So if you're looking to get involved on a more national stage and you're passionate about summer reading, feel free to let me know, and I can connect you with a committee that might interest you. One thing to note about CSLP, last year CSLP actually changed their internal structure. So they used to have a partnership with Demco, which I'm sure you all know, and they went through Demco for all their products and artwork and material creations. And so they've actually ended that partnership with Demco, and that's given them much more flexibility in terms of product creation and also copyright. So now, previously for all of the artwork, it was you were able to use it, but in sort of limited contexts, and you had to take it down each year. And now with any of the artwork starting from 2019, you can use it to create any summer reading materials that you want. So you can take all of these images that you're going to see in this presentation, slap it on a bookmark, slap it on whatever you want, and print out whatever you need. So to access the artwork, you just have to go to the CSLP website and download it from where you got the manuals. And there are all these beautiful images like the little bear that you see here. So yeah, that's a little bit about CSLP and Montana. So next we're going to talk about the summer reading kit itself and the contents for 2020. So there are 4 activities total, and we'll briefly describe each one and how to facilitate it. And then, like I said, we'll go over some supplemental materials that you all can use with not just the summer reading kit, but with the summer reading program activities that you might be planning for your library in general. And again, at any point, if you have questions, please feel free to let us know. So the first activity is called Create a Star Story, and this would be a great activity for all ages, for both young kids and slightly older kids. So for this activity, participants will be creating their own constellations using paper tower rolls, construction paper, and tape. And so depending on your age group, you can have kids create their own constellation design and also create the backstory for the constellation, or you can use one of the constellation templates that are included in the activity. And those templates you can see are up in this corner here, and you can just tape them on. So you take the constellation, you tape it on top of the tube that you have, and then you punch holes into the layers of paper. It works best, you can do it with just taping the the constellation template on top, but it does work best if you have like a piece of black construction paper to back it. And then you can look through it and see the constellation that you've created. As you can see from this picture here, I did not have a paper towel tube or black construction paper. I did have tape though. So I just used an old poster and then an old piece of scrap paper, and that also worked just fine. So you can either start to save your paper towel rolls now if you would like, or it's also totally fine to just use a rolled up piece of paper, and that was fine for me. I used T-pins to punch my holes, and that made it a lot easier, but you know, you can use a safety pin, a paper clip, whatever. And whatever works for you. So for the kids who've created their own constellations, you can have them share the story behind their constellation and why they've chosen that figure to represent. And you can make this activity a lot longer as well by focusing more on the story creation and also going over examples of star stories that they probably already know, like Orion or Cassiopeia or the Cowherd and Weaver Girl, and any other sorts of famous mythology stories about that. So I would encourage you, if you are looking for star stories to use with this, to maybe venture outside of the typical Greco-Roman tradition for constellation stories. There's actually a ton of American Indian star stories that are great to use. And there's this really cool website that I want to share with you all. So let me actually go ahead and drop the link to that in the chat box. And I'll bring this over into the screen sharer. But this website here actually looks at famous significant stars in the sky, and you can see which constellations come from which culture. So you can see the Hawaiian star line is the cat's cradle. So you can click on that and it'll show you what it looks like. And so you can explore the different figures and mythological figures from different cultures. So this is just a cool website to explore and look through if you're interested in that kind of thing. A couple other ways that you can alter this is you can use your phone and shine, like your phone flashlight, and project the constellation in a dark room, which is a really cool way to share it. It actually works better if you have like a Dixie cup. So if you have a shorter tube, the longer tubes you can do it, but it's a little bit harder. You can also do it with just a piece of paper and the design poked into it, held in front of the flashlight. So yeah, we've included a few links of things that you can look at when you're looking for supplemental activities with this activity. But yeah, that's the basic gist. And oh, a couple other things that we did include for the younger kids. There are some connect the dot constellation worksheets that they can use to learn about different constellations and to practice, you know, using a pencil and their numbers. For older kids, you can actually print out these blank sky charts. So if you give them the blank sky chart, they could maybe create their own constellation map or try and guess where the famous constellations are. And then you can also print out the same sky chart with the actual constellations on there if they want to check it. So more options for different age groups.
I've had a ton of fun with kiddos creating their own constellations and making up their own myth as to how that constellation was formed and presenting that. One way we brainstormed here at the museum was taking poster tubes, like poster mailing tubes, they're about 4 inches in diameter, and putting a similar thing to what Amelia did on the top. And if you were to rent the StarLab, we were thinking it'd be fun to try to put that over the bulb of the StarLab and projecting it onto the screen, or onto the dome rather, and then having kids present in there. We're gonna try that here sometime soon, I think. That might be a fun way to do it. And then black construction paper and glow in the dark or chalk that gets hairsprayed are a couple other really easy ways to pull off a similar
that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And yeah, you can always, you know, turn it into a slight kind of history lesson too, if you want to give examples of like, here are famous Montana figures that you could create a myth for and create a constellation for, or, you know, someone who's important to you. There's a lot of different ways and different stories that you can have kids create for this activity. Any questions about creating a star story? Oh, I just realized I didn't send the link to. I dropped that in the chat box now, um, where you can see the different stars from different cultures. Sorry about that.
It's a
Okay,
great resource. Thanks.
let's move on. The next activity is called Hide and Seek Moon, and this would be a really great activity for the younger crowd, perhaps 3 to 6 years old. So in this activity, kids will stand a bit away from a large poster of the moon. And on this poster, there are quote unquote hidden images of different animals. And you can see the animal illustrations here, which are really cute. Um, and so the kids are standing a little bit away, and they have a set of kid binoculars where they will search the moon and try and find the location of the different animals. There's an accompanying worksheet that goes along with the activity where kids can mark where they've found an animal, and then you can talk about the different features on the moon as well. And then you can also talk about different stories about the moon, or maybe create stories about why is there a frog on the moon, or what's he doing there, and use that as a conversation starter or something. So the activity does include a file for the moon poster. And we originally were going to print that out for everybody, but it turned out to be very expensive to print large posters. So we're going to change it a little bit, and I'll show you a picture of that. But here is the general setup of the kids' binoculars, which are really easy to use, and then looking at the moon from a little ways away. So instead of printing out the moon poster, we are actually going to provide moon tapestries that look like this, or something very similar to this. And they're quite large. And so you can still use the binoculars with it. And we were thinking of including various image sets. So I showed you the animals before, but we could include planets or constellations or animals or food, or if you have any other ideas, feel free to drop them in the chat box. But we thought this actually might give you a little bit more flexibility in that you can tape or pin each image set and, you know, change it up each time so you can use it multiple times. So if you think of any other types of images that you think kids would like, feel free to let me know. We're hoping to include 3 or 4 in the kit, and you can just tape them and place them wherever you want on the tapestry. The rest of the activity would be the same, where the kids use the binoculars, they try and find the images, and then mark where they are on the corresponding worksheet. Lori said, did you try going to the college? Printing Services does things like this for cheap. Oh, we did not consider that. So maybe we will do that. I will make a note to myself. I think we'd still include different image sets though, so that you guys have more flexibility with this. Flowers, that's a great idea. Okay, any questions about that activity? And I haven't done research on this yet, and if you have suggestions, feel free to include, there was one recommended book that went along with this called Moon Rope, I believe. But if you have any other recommended children's stories about the moon, feel free to put them in the chat box, and I will also include that in the activity. Any questions or suggestions? Nope. Okay, onwards.
Sorry, I was on mute there for a second. So the third activity would look at our state dinosaur, the Maiasaura. It's a really cool story of a lady named Marion Brandvold who was hiking around her property up by Choteau, Montana. She came across some very, very tiny bones and took them to Jack Horner and said, "What are these?" Jack Horner took a scientist back there, and it turns out what is now called Egg Mountain was one of the first ever discovered bone beds that included embryo dinosaurs. So a good story that did become our state dinosaur. We are hoping we're doing dinosaurs and more in March, in which we will have Holly Woodward Ballard here from North Carolina. She will be providing commentary on the Maiasaura and the research that's being done as to how they cared for their young. So that should be fun to interview her and have that available for you all on video. That lesson will also include photos of fossils that we have on exhibition, including that little baby Maiasaura embryo and other Maiasaura bones. You can go to the next slide. There we go. That shows Choteau, Montana, up near where that was found. There's our little baby Maiasaura. One of the activities in this lesson asks kids to look at how big a Maiasaura nest is. So there's a little picture of that there. They're about 7 feet wide, 7 feet in diameter. Really unique mothering characteristics of these dinosaurs. They traveled in herds, they cared for their young, and what we know right now, it changes every day as you know, is they're one of the few dinosaur species to have done that. There's a little finger puppet for you, for your students and kiddos to do at the end of the lesson. Any thoughts or questions on that one? You can really go in several different directions with that. You can look at traits of dinosaurs, you can look at different kinds of dinosaur eggs, you can look at herbivore versus carnivore, herds of, and compare it to modern ecosystems in Montana where herds of buffalo are roaming around, kind of similar to the Maiasaura.
And one other thought, Jamie, Cindy had actually told me about one of the activities in the manual that her library really likes at the Bozeman Public Library, where it's creating like fairy habitats and things like that. But you could, create not a fairy habitat, but a Maiasaura nest by collecting different things and trying to have kids create that and put together a little nest of some sort. So pretty easy way to change that from fairies into dinosaurs if you wanted.
Totally. And in mine, I suggest either using outdoor debris to create that 6 foot, 7 foot diameter nest if you're able to go outside, or you can always use students within your group to show how big that actually is as well. I think at one point I suggest using a cantaloupe to compare a Maiasaura egg to the size of a Maiasaura egg. Speaking of habitats, we can go on to our reptiles. This would be a great one to include mini habitats, dioramas, type things as well. Like I mentioned, our changing exhibit right now is Reptiles, the Beautiful and the Deadly. That's from Clyde Peeling in Pennsylvania. So we have all 4 representations of reptiles, those being turtles, lizards, crocodiles, and snakes, and the tuatara, which you may or may never have heard of because they do not live here. But those are all represented in our museum right now. So this curriculum lesson will go into the differences between a reptile and an amphibian, a little bit about venomous versus poisonous and how venomous can be a really good thing. We're finding that snake venom has properties that can heal human diseases, and it's some amazing science happening right now. We will include videos from our friends at Zoo Montana who have their live ambassador animals in those videos. So those will be on our website. Before I forget, quick question. I had it on my last slide and forgot to ask. Can you stream video content, or would you prefer to have that on a thumb drive? If you wouldn't mind chiming in that chat box, I would love to know so that we can accommodate you appropriately. Thumb drive, cool. 2 times. Okay. I'm going to also ask that on your application, which we'll show you where to get to later. There's a specific question about that. So we may just send thumb drives to the people who have indicated the need for those, but the videos will definitely be on our website, and we'll show you where that is later too. Thanks for chiming in. That was great to see. So back to reptiles. Those are some of their ambassador animals, those 3 on the top. My favorite is the, oh geez, I forgot. His name's Grumpy. He's a hognose snake. He lives in eastern Montana. We'll include reptile fun facts and some tips for interpreting reptile content. I know reptiles can be pretty scary for some folks. They have a natural aversion to snakes, 100% real and understandable. So we'll just talk a little bit in that curriculum about why they're good and things they do good for humans and how they keep rodents at bay. And yeah, I think reptiles are really cool. So coming up with the things that are scary about them is a little hard for me. All right, and the craft included is that looks at geckos. Gecko toes are really cool. Those toes, fun fact, have about 100,000 hairs on them, as many as that are on your head, to help them stick to, well, right now they're stuck to the side of the glass upstairs, upside down, so they can stick to whatever. My question is, how do they get unstuck? So it's taking those little geckos, cutting them out, letting the kiddos cover them, and then you could attach a magnet to them, or you could attach a couple little magnets to the feet or poster putty. My one concern with magnets is if you're working with little kids, excuse me, they could be a safety hazard. If they swallow more than one magnet, it's kind of a big deal. It makes your intestines stick together, in case you wanted to know that. So any suggestions on what you would prefer if we were to include magnets or stickies? Any suggestions are great. But safety first always, so you could probably even use masking tape on the bottom of those. I haven't come to a real conclusion as to whether we're going to include something like that in the kit or not. So if you want to throw some suggestions in there of what would be helpful for your audience, that'd be great. Yeah, definitely make sure the parents, once they leave your facility, it's all on the parents. So you can tell those little guys that you know they're smart enough not to swallow magnets.
Okay, any questions about the activities that we just went over? No?
Questions, suggestions, now's your time. You guys have input here.
Yeah, we haven't purchased anything yet, so you have until when we purchase things to give input, which will be in the next couple of weeks.
Going
Okay.
once, going twice. All right.
Well, let's move on for now. Let's talk about how you actually apply for a kit. So the application deadline is open, and the application is open, and the deadline to apply for a kit is Friday, February 28th. So you can apply through the Museum of the Rockies webpage, and let me actually go ahead and just drop that link into the chat box right now. So on this webpage, if you scroll down, there will be a button that says application form or view form. And you can submit your application there. We are asking a few questions, of course, like your library name, contact information, and things like that. But we also will ask about your preference for receiving your kit. We are hoping to deliver most of the kits at the MLA conference in Missoula in April. This is the option that we prefer because then we can save on postage and spend more of our budget on creating kits to accommodate more applications. The second option is receiving your kit through the library courier, which is only available to libraries who are on the courier. And then the third option is to have it delivered to your physical address via FedEx. So, feel free to select whatever works for your library, of course, but just make sure you think about that before you fill out the application, because we will be asking about that. We are going to notify people by March 8th as to whether or not you are receiving a kit. And yeah, the application is open and live, so feel free to start submitting if you want. Additionally, if you are planning on coming to MLA and you receive a kit, Jamie and I will be hosting a summer reading kit unboxing session. So we'll have your kits at MLA for you to pick up. It'll be in a box. And then we'll have an hour-and-a-half session where we all go through each activity together, figure out how to do it, how to facilitate it, and then brainstorm ideas on how we can change it to fit different audiences and different kinds of libraries, and what other ideas we can add to supplement each activity. So, you're not required to come to that. It's not mandatory, but just anyone who wants a little bit more time with the kit and, wants the time to actually open it up and see what's in there, you're more than welcome to come, and we can have a nice, fun, relaxing unboxing session to prep for the summer and get familiar with the contents.
I won't bring any live reptiles, I promise.
Oh, that would have been cool, but yeah, a little hard to transport. So no snakes, no reptiles, nothing like that. Any questions about the application?
Quick, just 100% transparency. We both had NASA grants last year, which allowed us to give a kit to really anyone who applied. We had the funds to do that. This year we weren't so lucky. So depending on who applies, we may ask you to kind of go back to what we've done in the past of sharing kits, especially if you're close in proximity. We haven't made any decisions on that because we don't have any signups and we really just don't know, but that is a possibility. So
yeah. Okay, moving on. So next thing we wanted to talk about were some of the supplemental resources that you could use for your summer reading program. So the first one I wanted to mention was Humanities Montana, and I'm sure that many of you are familiar with this organization, but just in case you aren't, Humanities Montana offers great speakers and presenters that will come to your library and facilitate a discussion or a talk on a variety of topics. They have a ton of speakers in their catalog, which you can choose from. And they also have a few other programs that libraries can take advantage of. So it's $75 per session for a speaker, and the library has to provide the space and coordinate scheduling with the speaker. But it's very high quality, and there's a lot of vetting that goes on in the process of creating a presentation and a talk with Humanities Montana. Kim Anderson, who is the director of Humanities Montana, also wanted me to emphasize that the $75, that fee is waivable if that is a hardship for your library. So if you really want someone to come, but you're not sure if you're able to afford it, feel free to reach out to Kim, and she said that she'd be more than happy to waive that for libraries who want speakers to come. She also wanted me to mention that they have two programs that libraries could take advantage of. So the Big Sky Reads program is a $500 stipend for you to support your local book club. So you can use that money if you apply for it and get it. You can use it to bring in a speaker, get copies of books, help publicize your book club to the community, anything related to your book club activities. The Big Sky Reads program is able to be used for. The website for them, there is a question about that. Let me grab that and drop it into the chat box. It's just humanitiesmontana.org. And you'll have to view the programs to see the different options. So the speaker programs are the Montana Conversations, the Speakers in Schools, Informed Citizen, Think and Drink, and then they have a separate section for the Big Sky Reads. And then they also have the Montana Center for the Book Prize. And this is an annual award that Humanities Montana gives out to, they recognize up to 5 programs for excellent work promoting literacy and literature in Montana. So you can apply for this. Winners receive $1,000 and fame eternal. So make sure to apply if your library has a program that fits the bill. And then just as a sneak peek, here are some of the Humanities Montana topics that are kind of related to the CSLP theme of Imagine Your Story. There are, of course, many others to browse through, but here are just a few. So there's storytelling in public lands, 600 generations, Indigenous archaeology, Song of the Dawn Priests, Montana Native American literatures, Absoluca, respect, enrollment, and contemporary education, Untold Stories of Montana Minorities. They have 2 poet laureates there, Mandy Smoker Broadus and Melissa Kwasny, and then much, much more. So these are just a handful of them. They have a lot that you can look through, and I do encourage you to browse their catalog. Another resource that you can use are storytelling podcasts. So obviously these are not things that we have created. These are podcasts that are out and thriving in the world. But there's a bunch of free storytelling podcasts out there for all ages. We're highlighting a few here, but there are many more. So if you have others that you'd like to suggest, feel free to drop that in the chat box or let me know afterwards. You can see we split it up into for children and then for adults. So the for children list is actually from this article that I've linked here, from medium.com. And it's from these 2 podcast producers who make a podcast for young children. And this is the list of favorite podcasts from their own child. So this list is great. It has a short description of each podcast, the kind of energy level, the topics that they cover, and which ones might be appropriate for what age groups. With all of these, I do encourage you to listen to them first, of course, before you recommend them to see if they're fit for the parent or the family who's asking. Some of them I think might be more suitable for families to listen at home as opposed to listening in the library during an activity. One of them that might be really good though for in the library is Circle Round. So they do retellings of classic fairy tales, really high production, and a variety of stories to choose from. And that might be a great supplement to a story time that you're doing. In the for adults section, I listed This American Life, which of course has stories from all kinds of people, personal narratives and personal things that people are sharing. And then I also listed Hello from the Magic Tavern, which is a personal favorite of mine. It's an improv comedy podcast where the overarching premise is that this dude named Arnie has fallen through an interdimensional rift behind a Burger King, and he's now in the magical land of Foon. And so he has a slight Wi-Fi signal through the portal, and so every week he hosts a podcast and interviews people, creatures, and things from the land of Foon. It's quite funny. It's very much for adults. There's a lot of obscenity in it, but it's really fun, and I think fits well with this theme of storytelling and improv. So if you have any other recommendations of things you'd like to share, please do let me know, but these might be some good ones to start with. Another resource I want to talk about are the Star Story collections from OPI Indian Education for All. So OPI has released 2 collections, one focused on Blackfeet astronomy and one focused on crow astronomy. And each collection has a variety of star stories as well as accompanying lesson plans and activities to do with them. So even if you don't use the lesson plans, the stories themselves would be great to use during story time or during the Create a Star Story activity. And they also have a YouTube channel that has a storyteller going through each story. So I've linked the PDFs to these collections in this slide, and I'm actually going to go ahead and grab the PDF link and put it in the chat box as well. But these are freely available to use and they're really cool, so I do encourage you to check them out. And then lastly, I wanted to, oh, sorry, I forgot. Jamie, do you want to talk about StarLab?
As you may or may not know, we have 2 analog StarLabs. It's that giant dome that you can see. It's about 25 kids. It requires about a 10, probably a 12 by 12 foot space, so gyms are perfect. Any social area in your library would be perfect. It comes with cylinders that project an image onto the dome. You can do basic constellations. There is one in there that goes really well with those OPI Star Stories, called Native American constellations. And like I said earlier, a 4-inch diameter poster mailing tube, if you were able to cut those down a little bit, could also go over there, so you could project student images in that as well, if that was feasible for you all. Those do travel around the state all summer, all year, and if you need to sign up for one, do sign up in advance because they get swiped up pretty quick.
Yes, and Lori said that it's 10 feet high by 19 feet wide, so quite
19.
large, but very
Wow.
fun.
Great. And of course, we have a planetarium here, if you didn't know.
Yeah. And I did put the StarLab webpage from the Museum of the Rockies website in the chat box, so you can look there for information on what's in it and how to reserve it.
And there's heaps of curriculum on the StarLab website that you can modify and change based on your needs.
Yep. Ooh, Jamie, this is you too.
Okay, so like I mentioned earlier with the reptiles, we do have, oh, I was reading your, sorry, I got distracted by Lori's comment. We are working with Zoo Montana this summer. They will be here every Friday beginning in June. And like I mentioned, we did take video of them talking about their ambassador animals and telling your students, you can use those to tell your students more about amphibians versus reptiles, taking a closer look at those 4 different types: turtles, lizards, crocodilia, and snakes. No, they don't have a crocodilia to show you, but they do have the others. You can also order their Educate trunks that has some biofacts in them, such as snake skins and a few other things to use. You can also give them a call or shoot them an email, and they will work with you to bring their ambassador animals to your library. It really depends on the mileage they need to travel as to how much that costs, and if they can just spend a day or if they can add some other libraries on the way. There's no real set fee for that. It's a little bit dependent on travel, like I said. They're great. They're 2 very enthusiastic ladies, very excited about sharing education about animals with the general public. So give them a call if you're so inclined.
Awesome. And then the last thing that I wanted to show is the MSL Community Forum, so the summer reading sharing space. If you haven't looked at the MSL Community Forum, it's an online sharing space where anyone can post resources, articles, links to share with the wider Montana library community. You don't need an account to view the posts, but if you want to post things, you do need an account. And there's a thread for the 2020 summer reading program. So let me actually go ahead and drop the link to the MSL Community Forum into the chat box. And then I'll just drag this in here so you can see. There are 2 main forums here. There's the Montana Shared Catalog, and then there's the Library Program Resources. If you click on Library Program Resources, it takes you into that forum, and you can see here there are sub-forums on the side. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different sub-forums, and there's one for summer reading. So if you click in here, you can see that there is a 2020 CSLP discussion thread, Imagine Your Story, and then a 2020 CSLP performers discussion thread. So if you are looking to take advantage of the Educate ambassador animals that Jamie mentioned, it'd be great if you posted it in the performers discussion thread so that people could know, oh, you know, this library is using it. I'm near this library. Maybe I'll coordinate with them. But if you click into the discussion thread, you can see there are some webinars, there's some other resources. I posted the notes that I took from the 2020 Summer Reading Brainstorm webinar that happened last month, I believe. And we'll be posting more things in here as summer approaches. So I just encourage you to bookmark this, keep this in mind, and contribute if you have something that you would like to share as well.
Amelia, while you have that open, can you go to our website? We'll just take a quick look. I think we have enough time.
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
Library's webpage and the outreach page.
Oops, I should look up Museum of the Rockies.
Nice, so there's the summer reading. And if you're navigating to there, it's under the education tab up on top. And there under libraries. Yep, you got it. And so we'll have, yeah, everything you need up there in addition to getting it to you in real form. The other one also under education is that schools and educators, not specific to schools and educators, obviously, classroom resources. Oops. You can get to it by on the left here too, the classroom resources.
Classroom resources.
Yeah, you just click that one. So this gives a good list of everything that we have. The paleontology kits may go well with the Mama Maiasaura lesson. There is a moon kit. It's a little bit higher end not in quality, but higher end that it's for older audiences. Some of those Yellowstone kits, the forest and prairie ecosystems and wetlands, do have some examples of amphibians and reptiles. And then of course at the bottom is the StarLab. And then to reserve those, we kind of trick you a little bit. You go back to the top, and that reserve an outreach kit in blue is going to take you to that request form.
Oops. Cool. Is there anything else you want to show on the MOR website, Jamie?
No, that should do it. So you should know in advance that we'll get those to you. If we need to, if you're local, you can pick them up and drop them off. But if you're far away, we'll send them. But it is your responsibility to send them back or send them to the next library, which happened a lot last year with the StarLab. It went from library to library. The shipping for the small kits is anywhere from $10 to $25, I would say. The rental fee is $25. And then the StarLab is a little expensive to ship back. That's about $180. It really depends on how far away from us you are too. I've shipped it for as little as $80 as well, so it can really depend.
Yep.
But again, if you're in a similar area and are working with another library, maybe you could split those costs or work something out between yourselves. Thanks, Amelia.
Yep. And then I also wanted to mention that all of the resources from this PowerPoint are listed on the summer reading webpage on the MSL website. So I'll drop that link into the chat box as well. But yeah, in the lifelong learning section, there's a webpage for the 2020 summer reading program, and you can look at all that information here. And the link to apply is also down here too. So any questions?
Or suggestions?
Or suggestions?
Feel free to turn your microphone on if you have it too and talk at us if you prefer. Do you feel like these lessons will be usable for your audiences? Do you feel like you'll be able to take advantage of them? Are they audience appropriate? Great, thanks, Shannon.
Shannon says yes. Yay.
Great.
Amelia, can you hear me?
Yes.
The Smithsonian out of Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
they have a traveling kit. And this summer's traveling kit is folklore.
Oh, okay. I will have to look into that. And have you used one of their kits before, Lori?
No, we applied for it this year, though.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll look into that and see. Thanks.
Awesome. So when we started, a little backstory, brainstorming this back in October, November, we really wanted to make this kind of Montana centric too. So most of these lessons you can tie are very place-based. You can tie them back to something in Montana, whether it's local reptiles or reptiles of the past, aka dinosaurs, Native Americans. I mean, the moon is local to us all in a way. So
Only
that was
Montana's.
really, yeah. So that was really our idea with this curriculum, and of course the museum always strives to relate it to our exhibit content. So,
Mhm.
so yay, place-based learning. Well, thanks for all that great feedback. We do appreciate it.
Yes, and if you think of anything else, please do let us know. We are more than open to including other ideas, suggested changes, or anything like that. So please reach out to both Jamie and me and let us know if you have further thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording now.